Hey, Truth Seekers, this is Zach here. We're looking at live CNN coverage. What I want to show you is this is the beginning of the curfew, and here's CNN's coverage. Look at how the media is just here to document this. Cameramen walking around. This is how it's been for the last 20 minutes. Occasionally you'll see people come in and throw a piece of debris, and then a cameraman will walk through and photograph. What's amazing is that CNN is showing this footage, because just by watching it, you can see what a big hoax it is, unless you think these cameramen and photographers are just incredibly brave people who show no normal body response to what's going on in the situation if this is real. This is just like the beginning of Ferguson, Truth Seeker. The people who are here fighting with the police all have their masks. Let me mute that. All the people here that are protesting that keep coming on the screen showing stuff, we watch, somebody will come back. They all have their faces covered up, tied up. And that here in Seattle, if you go to an Occupy movement, the people who will show up with the faces covered, they move tactically, almost like as if they're in the military, and they'll come and they'll do things. They'll break windows. I hung around Occupy a little bit, so I saw how this worked, and I saw how the media would pick up the stories, and every time I saw it, I saw that it looked so orchestrated. It seemed like the media wanted that to happen right then, so that then they could go on the nightly news and say, ooh, look at the bad Occupy people, what they did today. You know? Here we're watching probably police officers versus police officers dressed up as protesters with cameramen in between who understand what the real circumstances are, getting their photo ops. This will be in the papers tomorrow, creating the narrative that shapes the minds of the 300 plus million people who read it. I mean, this will probably be international media, so who knows? Maybe 1 billion people will see these images tomorrow and believe the hyped up words behind the nonsense, the scripted act. Oh, shoot. I wish I started this recording just a second ago. They showed some real gems, Truth Seeker, that I wanted you to see. Let's plug back in and hear what they're saying real quick.
Ryan Young, what about you? Okay, Jason Carroll, are you there?
Testing, it's Jason. I can hear you.
Go ahead. What are you seeing?
I am Don, and I can tell you, maybe you can see what's happening right now as the line of officers there are about to move in once again. We saw some of those who were throwing some of the projectiles down in this direction. Some of them took off down the street, down Pennsylvania. Some of them still throwing projectiles. I'm going to back off with my photographer here so we keep somewhat of a safe distance, still trying to show you what's going on. Some of them still throwing glass bottles, covering their faces, some of them as they were throwing some of these objects and then taking off down the street. Police using a great deal of restraint. As you can see, they kept their line out here in front of what's been going on down here on Pennsylvania Street. Very disappointing to some of the community activists who are out here trying so desperately for so long to prevent this from happening.
So while we watch these images, I'll tell you what I've always thought about this world while I've been living in it. You know, instead of spending all this money on police, I mean, look at what's going on. We got helicopters flying in. We have armored vehicles. We have the police and all this expensive gear and shields and weapons. Imagine if in Baltimore right now that money was spent on civic centers, so there were places to go and be creative. Imagine maybe there's basketball courts, there's an arts center, there's a studio where there's instruments. Just opportunity. It's not just that Baltimore doesn't have these things. Our entire society doesn't have these things. We grow up as kids bored, waiting for something, wanting to grow up so we can drive around and get into that adult life, drink that alcohol legally. You know what I mean? Along the way, there's not the guidance. There's not the opportunities we should have because all of our money and wealth has been spent on shit like this. You know? I want to be looking at a nice community center with things to do. Swimming pool. Our tax money could be spent on that. You know what kills me is over the years I've always made points like this and say, oh, you sound like a socialist. It's just like, what? That response doesn't even make sense, man. Why don't you think about what you sound like? You're saying you'd rather your money be spent on militarization, police, fake media, wars. What is this? The conservative will also say, yeah, all that nice spending, that doesn't generate money. Then you don't have all the nice things like the TVs and stuff in our society, and I completely agree. And that's where I say we don't need the TVs. We just need community and things to do that are productive. That doesn't require technology. Technology's come in the time of insanity. Technology's here to show us shit like this. Made for TV movies that are our nightly news. Look, they need armored tanks for the person on the old Schwinn made in 1970 that can't even get their ski mask on. Welcome to America. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. I think they're taking aim on the Schwinn. Oh, Truth Seeker. These police. They're sick. Imagine if we got rid of our police and made every classroom size in this nation 10 students or less and taught the kids some real stuff that was valuable to their lives. Then they wouldn't have to be out here doing this shit. Oh, man. Yeah, True Seeker. Like I said, I hung around the Occupy movement. Most people are peaceful. The people with the masks, they've always seemed like police, from Seattle to Baltimore to Ferguson. Talked about that in some earlier video posts. All right, until next time, True Seeker.